The hospital room was tense, filled with the quiet hum of machines and the anxious whispers of nurses. Doctors had tried everything, every advanced procedure, every last-minute intervention, but the billionaire's newborn baby wasn't responding. Panic was creeping in, and time was slipping away. Families prayed, medics stressed, and hope seemed to be fading like a dying light. Then, in the midst of this chaos, she appeared. A young black girl, poor and unnoticed by most, quietly observed everything. No one expected her to do anything, let alone save a life that even the world's top doctors were struggling with. Her hands trembled slightly, but her determination was unmistakable. Something inside her told her she could make a difference where the rest had failed. What she did next would shock everyone in the room, and change the course of the night forever. The tension was unbearable, every second stretching endlessly, as eyes turned toward her. Could a girl from humble beginnings really perform the unthinkable? Or was this just another attempt doomed to fail? She had been working at the hospital for barely a year, doing odd jobs and running errands for the staff. Most people barely noticed her, and she had learned long ago that being quiet often kept her safe. But tonight, something felt different. The baby's cries or lack thereof pulled at her in a way she couldn't ignore. She had no fancy degrees, no titles, no expensive training. What she did have was instinct, courage, and a kind of calm focus that came from growing up facing challenges she never fully shared with anyone. As she stepped closer to the incubator, the room seemed to hold its breath. Doctors glanced at her skeptically, unsure why this young girl was even near the equipment. Nurses whispered nervously, exchanging worried looks. The billionaire parents, tense and desperate, barely noticed her at first, their eyes glued to the monitors and tubes surrounding their fragile child. Her mind raced as she thought through every tiny detail she had observed from the nurses, the doctors, and countless emergencies she had silently witnessed. She knew the slightest misstep could make things worse, yet she also felt a strange certainty that she had to try. Something about this moment felt bigger than herself, as if fate had pushed her forward. Every second that passed deepened the suspense. Would she succeed where the best in the world had failed, or would this night end in heartbreak? The room was silent except for the faint beeping of the monitors. Every eye in the intensive care unit was on the incubator, but many of them doubted the girl could actually help. Doctors whispered among themselves, some shaking their heads, others muttering about protocols she didn't know. Yet, in her eyes, there was a quiet confidence that unsettled even the most seasoned professionals. Meanwhile, the billionaire parents hovered nearby, their hands gripping each other's tightly. The father's jaw was tight with tension, while the mother's eyes darted nervously between the monitors and the girl who had suddenly become the pit center of everyone's attention. Neither knew her name or her story, but somehow, they felt a fragile thread of hope tugging at their hearts. Back in the corner, one of the nurses kept glancing nervously at the girl. She knew how unconventional this was, but there was something about her presence that commanded attention. Memories of past emergencies where intuition had saved lives flashed in her mind. She wondered if this could be one of those rare moments. As the girl leaned over the incubator, her hands steady despite the tension, she could feel the weight of everyone's hopes on her shoulders. Every movement mattered, every breath counted. Outside the room, the city lights flickered, but inside, time seemed to stand still. The question lingering in the air, could a single act of courage from someone overlooked really tip the scales between life and death? The suspense tightened like a coiled spring, and everyone in that room knew that whatever happened next would be unforgettable. The room felt charged, every heartbeat amplified in the tense silence. Doctors hovered nearby, some gripping their clipboards, others frozen in disbelief. Every second stretched longer than the last, as if the world outside had disappeared, leaving only the fragile life inside the incubator and the girl who had stepped forward. Against all odds, the billionaire parents held their breath, their knuckles white as they clutched each other's hands. Fear and hope collided in their eyes. They had seen miracles in the world of wealth and power, but nothing like this. Their baby's tiny chest rose and fell weakly, a delicate reminder that time was running out. The girl's mind raced. She could hear every beep, every hiss of the machines, every muffled whisper. Memories of everything she had ever learned, every small observation, every second of experience in the hospital flashed through her. Her hands hovered over the instruments, her instincts guiding her like an invisible thread. She knew one wrong move could mean disaster. Yet hesitation was not an option. Around her the doctors exchanged tense glances, some ready to intervene, others watching with quiet amazement. Nurses whispered prayers under their breath, unsure if they were witnessing courage or recklessness. And then, as she took a deep, steady breath and prepared to act, the monitors beeped faster, the baby's condition teetering on the edge. The room seemed to hold its collective breath, every eye fixed, every soul aware that the next moment could change everything or nothing at all. The climax was about to arrive, and no one could predict what would happen next. Just as the girl leaned closer, her hands steady over the delicate tubes and monitors, a sudden alarm pierced the tense air. The machines began flashing erratically, the heart monitor spiking and then flatlining in terrifying rhythm. Doctors shouted instructions, their calm professional facade cracking under pressure. The billionaire parents froze, panic flooding their faces as hope wavered dangerously. A nurse rushed forward, her voice shaking, insisting the girl step back. "It's too risky. You don't know what you're doing." But the girl's eyes locked on the baby, unyielding. Something inside her told her to keep going, to trust the instincts she had honed through years of unnoticed observation and quiet courage. Then, another complication appeared, a sudden shortage of oxygen in the ventilator, an equipment malfunction no one anticipated. The doctors scrambled, the nurses panicked, and the girl realized she had only moments to act. Every second now carried the weight of life and death, and in that instant, the billionaire father spoke, his voice shaking yet firm. "Do whatever you have to. Just save our child." The pressure intensified, not just on the girl but on everyone in the room. The stakes had risen beyond anything imagined. Money, status, and expertise were powerless now. It was instinct, courage, and sheer determination against the unthinkable. Every eye watched, every heartbeat synced with the tension in the room. The next move would decide the fate of the baby, and no one could predict if it would be triumph or tragedy. The girl took a deep breath, blocking out the chaos around her, and focused on the baby's tiny, fragile body. She moved with precision, guided by instinct honed from years of quietly observing, helping where she could. She adjusted the ventilator manually, carefully monitored the oxygen flow, and gently repositioned the baby to stabilize its fragile lungs. The monitors beeped erratically at first, then slowly, almost miraculously, the heart rate began to normalize. The doctors stared in stunned silence, unable to believe what they were witnessing. The nurses exchanged amazed glances, whispering prayers of gratitude. The billionaire parents collapsed into each other's arms, tears streaming down their faces as hope returned, raw and overwhelming. The room, which had been a pressure cooker of tension, now hummed with cautious relief. Just when everyone thought the crisis was over, the girl noticed something strange on the monitor, an irregular rhythm that hinted at a rare congenital condition the doctors had missed. Acting quickly, she signaled to the medical team, and together they administered the correct treatment. Within moments, the baby's condition stabilized completely. The room erupted in relief and awe. The girl, now a quiet hero, whose courage and quick thinking had saved a life no one else could. And as the billionaire parents tried to thank her, she simply smiled, refusing accolades. But in the back of her mind, she knew this night had changed more than just the babies. Fatih had shifted the balance of what people believed was possible, and her story was only beginning. The hospital room slowly returned to a calmer rhythm. The machines beeped steadily, the baby's tiny chest rising and falling with each healthy breath. The billionaire parents held their child close, gratitude written on every line of their faces. They wanted to shower the girl with thanks, gifts, and praise, but she gently shook her head. She didn't need recognition. What mattered was that the baby had a chance at life. The doctors and nurses lingered, still in awe of what had happened. They admitted quietly to one another that sometimes courage, intuition, and heart could achieve what years of training could not. The girl, once invisible in the hustle of the hospital, had proven that skill and determination come in many forms, and that even someone overlooked could change the world in an instant. Outside the room, life continued, but the story of the night would ripple far beyond the hospital walls. The billionaire family promised to support her education and future, not as a reward, but as an acknowledgement of her extraordinary bravery. As she walked away quietly, she felt a sense of peace and purpose.